last time I recorded a video. I was looking at this and I was forecasting this. I think it was initially a running flat and then turned into a expanding flat, which was not valid. Um, so that was fine. We didn't take that. That can stay there. So now we're looking at Aussie CAD again, and we're looking at something like this. And the reason is we've got this piece, but there's nothing to match it really. Got this down move, we've got this up move, we've got nothing to match it with. So supposedly what that means is we need to get another up move at some point, which will give us a correction for downside. Um, that just means, oops, that just means that we'll watch this. We'll watch this piece for some type of correction, potentially even um, taking a buy when it breaks through this. Being careful about managing it. Um, yeah, because as you can see, we broke this low, and then we reversed quite quickly. So that's a good indication. That's what we're waiting on for Aussie CAD. So that's something we'll probably get into next week, very early next week, is see if this turns into anything. Potentially, it could break here, go up, and then keep coming down and do something like that. That's one option. We could just take off from here. As soon as we break this, we might just go up. Okay, that's Aussie CAD. Next, we're looking at Euro Yen. Oh, sorry, Euro Pound. What's happening here? Okay, we're looking for upside on the long term, and we're looking at this running flat. 1, 2, 3. We may or may not. So just again, this is the A, B, C. We may or may not have completed the C wave. Potentially we could come and break this low before going higher. That's what we're waiting on the Euro Pound. This seems slightly corrective, something like that for one more down, but that's not enough reason to take a sell there. So we're just waiting to see if we get either we'll get some type of consolidation here, something like that, and then we can buy it, or this will come down here and then we'll, for the next impulse up to get into that. Okay, that's Euro Pound. Next is Euro Yen. What are we doing here? Okay, this is A, B, C. That's the long-term idea for upside. Not one. This, it's, let's look at it again. Okay. So this B wave does not necessarily need to break this high. Doesn't need it. So we can never be sure if it's going to break this and then reverse. If it turns into an expanding, we don't know if it would extend further out. So in this case, we don't know what's going to happen. Well, we never know what's going to happen, but we need to be a bit more careful here and just this. At the moment, we're just watching this to see if this is an A wave of some logic or some movement up here and get some movement down there, then we might look for some type of correction like that. I think that's the only alternatively. If we get this and then a little bit of sideways movement, there's some potential to sort of take a trade up, hopefully up to there, up to that level. But this one is less clear. Then Euro New Zealand. Yes, we are looking for upside in the long term, definitely. Only question is this the bottom, or do we need to come down before we go? That's the question. So what we are looking at the moment is this impulse and this correction. Waiting for that correction to develop naturally. That's the waiting for that to play out. Um, Potentially even taking this trade down there to this level, more or less. Although you need to be careful because you've got this over here has broken this high. So we don't need to break this low now necessarily in order for this pattern to be complete. So I think it's a potentially good sell. If we look at it a bit more closely, it's a pretty good sell if we break through this trend line. We can watch it closely when it comes to this level to see if it's going to make some type of logic. It's always possible. Alternatively, if it breaks this, you could also get in at that point. So watching on Euro New Zealand is just taking this trade down to this level. Yeah, that's what we're looking at. And then once we get to that level, look at buying this correction that for some upside. That's Zealand, Euro dollar. Let's look at this. This looks pretty good. The longer term weekly time frame. A, B, C. That's the idea, right? Got this impulse, got this correction. We go for the next impulse down. That's the idea. What we can focus on now is deciding if we're going to start with that up move from here. We need to determine now. Alright. Are we going to come in first before we head up? Possibly. I think if we break through this trend line, we might take a cautious buy because this is fairly good structure. That's a potential buy on the euro dollar. Let's go to the weekly. Standard forecast, just looking for the flat to materialize. Essentially looking at A, B, C. So we're looking at maybe that correction and then getting that last bit down of this. If we look at the 1 hour, really here for us, potentially this is the first impulse from maybe a flat. Running flats are quite in the C wave, especially if this wave has retraced so deeply, then I think a running flat is common. Let's see how deep that's gone. Yeah. So my initial forecast would actually be a running flat. We'll just watch that. There's nothing really for us to do. I suppose if you really dig, you could look to trade this, but so I can't really watch these on the 15-minute chart. Look at the 4 hour. You could definitely get something like a running flat, although if you look at this, this was all the correction that you had. So we'll see how that develops. Next, New Zealand dollar. Daily. Okay. The weekly. think we're looking at this and this as a correction. Looking at to capture this upside next. Let's see, you never know when it's going to go, so you just 4 hour. This is a good indication. You've got this low, but this low, and this low. Okay, slanting down, this is slanting up, so you've got divergence there. Indication of a reversal. If we dig deeper into lower time frames, if we can identify an impulse and an hour, then I think that might be worth taking. On the 1 hour, we're looking at this impulse, this correction. If we buy that when it trend line, that's a potentially good buy. Watching for New Zealand dollar. I think that's all we're looking at for Forex, and we'll see how that plays out this week.